Huzzah and well met, my bannermen and ladies. And today I have a video about disposals for you. This is something of an extension of my last video. Well, not last video, the video before last, where I did water stream unloaders. And we'll get right into it here, because this kind of connects to a theme in my life over the past couple of weeks of getting rid of things that I don't need. I have cleaned out my emails. I have cleaned out all the pictures on my phone. I have cleaned out my home and thrown away a lot of clutter. And I feel like this is on brand for me for the past couple of weeks, anyways, in how we're going to talk about getting rid of things that you don't need and the most efficient ways of doing so. So, after all of this looking around, in Minecraft, there are a few ways to just get rid of some things. So, we'll grab a few things just to get rid of. You can throw them in lava, where they will immediately burn up, and you can throw things against a cactus, which will destroy anything. And I mean anything. Let's find something tough to destroy. How about a block? Not a lodestone, a block of netherite. Throw it against a cactus. Goodbye. You might have some trouble with netherite in lava. It's meant to be fireproof. So keep that in mind. But a cactus destroys all. Everything. If it bumps against a cactus, kiss it goodbye. It's over. I like how the lava punctuated that sentence for me. I do appreciate that lava pool that I placed there. But anyway, so I have 4 different circuits for you of ascending speed. And I want to give a shout out to BrokenBones. This was basically taken from one of his videos. These are really well designed redstone clocks that activated this, or excuse me, not a dispenser, a dropper, to throw your items away. That's really all they do. And to demonstrate, we'll grab some oak planks. You can probably hear them sizzling as they're launched into this lava. You can see how automatically they're just being unloaded one by one. Our circuit back here is working. And as soon as it's done, now we can talk about how this thing works. So what we have here is a dropper facing down into the lava. You might see these setups with a cauldron full of lava beneath, but those are not as reliable because sometimes the dropper will send the item downward and it will end up shunted off to one side instead of going into the lava in the cauldron and burning up. So how does this work? If you're familiar with my videos, I use gray concrete to set things on, and blue concrete represents blocks that are part of the circuit. So what we have is a block against our dropper and a comparator in subtract mode reading the signal from our dropper. Now, a comparator in subtract mode will take any signal that it gets from behind and it will send that signal forward minus the signal it receives from the side. So it takes the signal from behind and subtracts the signal it gets from the side. This is sending this signal on through this blue block into this redstone dust, which powers this blue block, which powers our repeater right here, which powers our redstone dust. So what happens here is our signal comes through here, gets to our repeater, which sends it through to this redstone. And this redstone gives our comparator a signal from the side that is enough to shut it off. except that when there are things in the dispenser, it will turn back on. And so you will get this repeating loop as our redstone comparator says there are things in there, and our signal comes through and says, nope, that thing was lost. And the comparator will check again and it'll say, no, no, there's more things in here. And so our signal will continue to cycle until this dropper, excuse me, I think I keep calling this a dispenser. This dropper is empty. You can do this with just a dropper. So at every time this repeater lights up, because our comparator says there are things in the dropper, the comparator will light up and it will do two things. It will shut the comparator off for the moment, and it sends the signal on to this blue block, which powers our dropper to drop one thing into the lava. So as you watched, that's all that does. Now, I'm not going to continue to repeat my explanation of comparators, but I will say it one last time here. A comparator in subtract mode takes the signal that it gets from behind and sends it onward minus the signal that it gets from the side. So when the signal that it gets from the side is equal to the signal it gets from behind, it shuts off. This is how we have this repeating clock set up. And we're going to continue using that through all of these designs. Now, this one is double speed. You can see that we have hoppers to one under a double chest and to one side. Now, I'll talk about this in greater detail later, but hoppers that face downward into another hopper send things downward much faster. So we want all of our hoppers to be pointing at the main column that we're using to drop things with this dropper. So anything we put in here will go 2 items at a time downward into each of these hoppers, and sometimes the item will go into this hopper and then to this one, then to the dropper, and sometimes it will go to this hopper and then to this hopper, then to the dropper. So that's all we have to worry about there. This is double speed. We have the same sort of setup. You can see our comparator right here reading from this block, and the comparator can read through one block to our dropper. This one is not in subtract mode. What this one is going to do is just read the signal that it gets from behind and send it forward. So it sends it to our repeater, which powers this block, which powers this comparator in subtract mode, which sends the signal onward to this redstone, to this redstone, to this redstone dust, which will send a signal back to the comparator to turn off, to which it will turn off and it will say, but I'm getting a signal from this blue block, so I will turn back on again until I'm no longer getting a signal from this blue block. When our dropper is empty, this comparator will stop sending a signal, which will stop this comparator from reigniting, saying, I'm still getting a signal. Finally, our signal that is sent will go to this repeater, to this dust, to this block, which will power our dropper to drop an individual item. And like I said, this one is double speed. And let's find 64 of something to throw in there just to show you. You can see each time it's dropping by 2 units. You can hear them sizzling away in the lava. These are all considered smart so that it will stop firing after everything is empty. If there are no units in the dropper, no items in the dropper, there will be no signal to send on to the clock. So, this section, let me align myself here. This section is the clock, and this is just a sensor over here. That's not. Oh, the cactus grew. Interesting. All right. This setup is now quadruple speed. And you will see that all we've done is take this build, double it, and send the signals to the same sort of clock. Our subtraction comparator is right here. So anytime this dropper or this dropper gets a signal through our comparators here, they will power this block or power this redstone, which if the block is powered, it will power the redstone, which will power the repeater back to this block, which will power our comparator here, which is in subtract mode. So it's getting a signal from behind. It sends that signal forward first into this blue concrete block, which will light up this redstone. It will light up this redstone and then send a signal back to itself to turn off. But it will continually ask this blue block if it's getting a signal. And if the answer is yes, which if there are items in the dropper, then it will be getting a signal and will send a signal over here to these droppers to continually keep firing until it receives no signal from these comparators. So, once again, let's find something to get rid of. And you can see just how quickly that's emptying out. That didn't take long at all. Now, how do we do this? We set the chest over top of a minecart with hopper. The most effective and easiest way that I have determined is on top of these 4 hoppers. You'll see that I have these 2 pointed towards these hoppers and these 2 pointed towards the dispenser. Excuse me, the dropper. These are not dispensers, these are droppers. You will break that one just so I can show you how this is done quickly. Get yourself a rail, and this must be a minecart with hopper. And what you'll do is you'll put 2 fences or bits of stone wall of some kind over top of the 2 hoppers diagonal from each other. Place yourself a rail. Place a minecart on the rail, because that's the only way to put down a minecart. Carefully break the rail, and then we're going to push the minecart until it is against both of these fences. Well, you may have to take the chest out of the way to get it pushed right up against both fence posts. And this one is going to be difficult for me this time for the video. Of course it would. There we go. All right. It doesn't matter as long as its hitbox is over top of all 4 hoppers. Then you'll have the minecart with hopper being able to drop items into any one of the 4 hoppers beneath it. So as you'll see, oops, we'll just throw these rails in. And as you can see, that is just as fast as it can go. Or is it? Because here finally, we have an 8 times speed. If you watched my video on minecart loaders and unloaders, then you may have seen this before. This is the same sort of circuit. We're going to take and place our minecarts against fence posts so that they're sitting over top of 4 hoppers each. And then we use the fact that a double wide chest can be placed so that it reaches both of these hoppers. We have an 8 times speed disposal. Out of the back of each of these droppers, we have our blocks and our comparators. Our comparators all feed into either a block or a redstone dust, and then into a block, into a repeater that sends the signal this way. This block right here is kind of the linchpin. And this comparator is the linchpin in that it does the same thing as before. It's in subtract mode. You can tell because the front torch is lit up. It will send the signal onward. If it gets any signal from any of these comparators over here, which it will, as long as there's an item in any of these droppers, it will get a signal and it will light up this blue concrete block, which will light up this redstone dust and send the signal back to its side, which will tell it to turn off. Because it is sending the same signal that it receives from behind, so whatever signal it's getting minus itself is 0, which will make it turn off. The signal that it does send on before it turns off will light up all of this redstone, which will power our droppers here, which means that any of our droppers will fire for the clock, which we have 4 droppers, and we have double speed for all 4 droppers, meaning that this is times 8 speed disposal. If you throw something into this treasure box or treasure chest, you are not getting it back. You are not fast enough to get it back. Do not make the mistake of dropping something valuable in here because it is gone. Lament and cry out to heaven if you must, but it is gone. As you can see, that takes almost no time at all. And they're gone. They've been thrown into the lava. Now, some of you I can hear already saying, but White Sun Paladin, what if we wanted to throw them all into a water stream and send them elsewhere? You can do that. And I'm going to show you how with this device, which is a safe disposal. This one, quite the opposite of our times 8 disposal over there, is a safe disposal. And you'll see a very familiar circuit here. We are using a comparator to check this bottom dropper and a repeater to send the signal on slowly because we're on 4th tick here. We have when you place the repeater, you're at 1 tick, 2, 3, 4th tick. This is the slowest it can be. It will power this block, which will power our comparator in subtract mode again, which will send the signal onward and shut itself off by the signal that it sends to itself. So, that will power this block, which will power this repeater, which will power our bottom dropper. And this one is also set up to destroy anything because you'll see our water stream carries everything right down to a cactus. So anything you place in this top dropper, let's get a group of something. And you'll see as we place them in there, they don't move. But we can press this button and send everything to a cactus. Now, one final note to keep track of is that this also works without a cactus. Is you could take the cactus out of the equation and you could use this as an unloader. You could use any of these as an unloader if you replace the lava with a water flow. If you need to be sending hundreds of items at great speed down a water flow to a hopper or to another place so that they can get in a chest for some reason or whatever reason, there you have it. Replace the lava with water, send the items wherever you want. The cactus is a little bit more difficult because you can't always place a cactus uh, just wherever you want. 2 cacti cannot stand next to each other, so you couldn't do it with this double speed or with this quadruple speed or 8 times speed, I guess octuple speed disposal. So you couldn't place the cacti like that. But you're all smart and wonderful redstone engineers that I have taught how to do. So use this as you will. This is going to solve some of your problems for unloading. If you need hyper speed unloading, If you need slower unloading, or even slower from my other video, which I will link in the description, or even safe unloading so that it only works when you actually place things in here and press the button. You'll see that that fires many more times than was necessary for a single chest, but there you have it. And I have to say, once again, a very hearty thank you. I continue to be amazed that people love my work. I continue to be thankful that you leave your comments, and one person even left me a wonderful suggestion for music. It was actually a great time. I enjoyed listening to it while I was roaming around in my vehicle. Uh, Very much so. Appreciate your comments, your likes, your subscriptions. It makes me enjoy doing this even more. I apologize that I was gone last week. If you saw my announcement, uh, nobody was hurt or anything like that. It was just something that couldn't be ignored. I called it an emergency, but it really should not have been as panic inducing as the word emergency might say. Um, Once again, thank you very much for your continued support. Be blessed on your next quest, and I'm off to my next adventure, and this time I think it will be in Hyrule. Uh, so feel free to comment on any of those types of things, and this is your White Sun Paladin, off to my next adventure. Thank you.